Hi, I'm Danny Halbom. Welcome to my studio. Before we start today, I'd like to share some things on what you're going to be learning in the lesson.
Today is day 2 of the calm water lesson we started earlier. Now that the painting is dried, we will begin painting wet on dry, not wet on wet, as we did yesterday. We'll be putting in all the details of the piece, including the ships, dock scene, and the reflections of them on the calm water. We will also see how easy it really is to add simple but effective lights into our painting, creating that much needed mood setting we want to achieve. When we're all finished, we'll have a wonderful calm water painting you'll be proud to hang in your home. So let's get started.
Okay, so what we need to do is get our liner brush. And what we're going to do is we're going to have one ship in the background here, another ship in the dock scene a little bit closer up. And like I said, anything in the distance gets to be a little bit lighter, and everything closer to you is darker and darker, just like the water is here. So the first ship we're going to put in is the background ship. So we're going to use, get a little bit of your medium, or the formula that I use, and we're going to grab this color right here. It's not going to be the real dark, it's not going to be the next one, it'll be this shade right in here. And that should be the perfect shade for laying down that ship way in the distance back there. So mix your paint, make sure you got it nice and smooth up there. Get a little bit of your medium. Grab some paint. Again, you don't want to use too much, just get enough so that you've got some paint on there. We're just going to draw the outlines, then we're going to fill it in. So we'll take the bow, we'll make the bow of the ship. We'll put it right about where the waterline starts here. So we'll take this, and we'll just make the bow of the ship, kind of like that. Okay. Grab a little bit more. Put the bow down here, right about there where that breaks. Okay, now you can see how this fades out, and you can barely see that. That's good. It makes it look more like it's into the fog, like it's fading right into the fog there. Okay. And we'll put our bowsprit on. We'll just start from the top here, and we'll go down here. And on the bowsprit, we have another bar that comes down here, which is more of a support. So we make that right down here. Just like that. And we're just going to fill all that in with the same color. And see, that's the nice thing about doing this when you're working wet on dry. So you can color this all in, you can fill all this in, and you're not getting that background color, which is you're getting a little lighter and darker. It's all the same shade. That's the main reason why we wanted to let this dry rather than work wet on wet, as we could have yesterday. Let's in here. And you're going to go right down to that color. See how that fades in just nicely there? Okay, we can grab the next size brush. Get a little bit more. And fill in the rest of that ship up there. Now grab our liner brush again. Use a little bit more paint. Now we're going to start putting in the mast. Now we're going to make this, we'll make this a three-masted schooner. So let's start with the middle mast up here. And we're going to start right about up in here. I'm just going to go a straight line down. Again, I think you can see the advantage of having this par here. You can just make a nice straight line down. Do the next one up here. And then do one more mast in the back. Again, that fades right out, makes it look like it's really foggy, which is exactly what we want. Now the next thing is, on the bowsprit they have a spreader bar. We put that down here, just a little line like that. And then we're going to connect, they have lines to keep that bow from bending up. So we're going to put those in. Now these are real fine. When you're using your liner brush, you find the more pressure you put on, excuse me, the more pressure you put on, the thicker the line. And if you barely touch that canvas, you get a real fine line. So we're going to barely touch the canvas to get a nice fine line on that. We're going to go from the very point here down to this point right here. And then from this point, we're going to make another line coming up here. Okay? And we'll go about midway between here and here. Get another point, go right down to the point here again. And then this one comes out just about the same spot that that does. And we could go in a couple more lines just up in here. And we have bounce spring. Now the other lines that we need is from this point right up here down to the very tip of the bow, where the bow is the water. So we're going to throw in a line right down there. That's all we have for bow spring. The next line we're going to be putting up here, we're going to start putting in some of our mast. So we can come up here and just get, and as you go down, further down, you can put a little bit more pressure. See how that makes that a little bit thicker? You want that to go there. And this should be just a little bit higher. Come down, put a little bit more pressure, make it a little bit thicker as it hits down to the deck. Same thing with the last one. Now we're going to just kind of ad-lib, because we're making up this boat. It's really not any kind of shipping at all. So we'll put in a little small deck here, maybe this little rise up in here. Just put in a little deck. Maybe another portion of the deck over here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put in our rigging. We're going to start from the very top up here, not at the very top, but right about in here. Okay, put in just a little dot. Same thing up in here, and this is where the lines connect. This is where your rigging starts from. And we're going to go from here straight down to there. We start up here, and just go straight down. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on this side over here. This point here, we're going to go from that point right down to the bottom of that. Straight down. And again, don't put a lot of pressure, because we want these lines being real thin, because they're just rigging. These are the mast. This is the mast here. We're just doing the small rigging. So they should be smaller lines, thinner lines than the actual mast itself. Then we're going to go from this very front point here up to the top here. That's where the head sail would be if we put that sail in. Okay, now we got just some more rigging we're going to put down. coming down to about from here to here. So we're going to take this and we're just going to put in a couple of lines down here. And this is what holds the mast up and keeps everything standing up straight. Same thing on the other side. You can go real light. You don't want that rigging too thick. You don't want it as thick as the mast, otherwise it's going to look odd. Same thing on here. Come out just a little bit, not quite out that far. Couple lines, 2 or 3. This side, 2 or 3 on the other side. And you'll see that some of the lines you can't see because it's almost the same value tone as what you have back here. That's fine. We want it to look that way. We want it to fade right into the fog. So put them in anyhow, because I'll tell you, sometimes when you're painting, you lay in a line and you say, oh, I can't see it. But paint is a different value when it's wet and when it dries. A lot of times it gets darker when it dries. So even though you're laying it down, you're saying, I don't see it. When it dries, all of a sudden you see the line that's there. And make these masks just a little bit thicker. Now we're going to throw in, we'll say from here out, we'll throw in a boom from this one. So we'll take from this point and we'll go out just where that other mast is, just like that. And this will be a thick line because there'll be actually a sail on it, the same thickness as your mast. And that's where if there was a sail, the sail would be right in here. But this ship is docked, so there's no sail on it, it's all furled up in here. And we're going to throw in some sails that are furled up. So what we're going to do is come in a little bit thicker over here, maybe a little bump up here and there. Just makes it look like there's a sail that's wrapped around that boom sitting out there. Do the same thing with the line that's up here. Come in, just hit a little bit of a sail just like that. That looks like there's a sail wrapped up on that bowsprit. Let's throw a couple more lines up here on the bowsprit, where there'd be another couple of sails on there, maybe another one over here. And if there were sails on there, they would be wrapped up too, so we put this little small sail up there, and just another one over there. Okay. And that's the first ship. That's your brush. Now we're going to put in the ship that's a little bit closer and the dock that it's tied to. This ship is just sitting out there, it's anchored all by itself. Okay, so now we're going to, because this next ship is going to be closer, we need to go with a darker shade. Again, as you get closer for your depth, you need everything darker. So instead of this color, which we've been using, now we're going to go with the next shade up. We don't want completely dark. We're not really on the foreground. We're still in the distance, but it's closer than that one. So we go up to this shade right here. A little bit of your formula. And now for this one, we're going to take, and let's make the dock scene come up. Maybe, say from here. So let's draw our horizon's going to be right about there, just so we have a point of reference. We'll take it all the way out to the end. And this ship, instead of being sideways, we're going to look at the back end of the ship. So it's going to be a little bit higher than this one because it's a little bit closer, and and it'll be a little bit further down. We may want to drop that just a hair. Let's make that down this way, right about here. Okay, that'll be where the dock is laying in. Okay. And we have the back of the ship. We'll just make like a box right about here. Kind of like that. Once we have the box laid in, this is the back of our ship. And we go about in the middle up here, and we're going to put in mast on here. We're going to go up higher because, again, it's closer to us. We're going to start right about here. Come down, draw a straight line all the way down. And again, as it gets down further, it gets thicker. That's how the masts are built. You have it straight, a little thicker as it gets to the bottom. Okay, and let's take and we'll fill in this area, and we'll start putting in the doxing. So get your next size brush up. We don't want to go with the thinner, the liner brush at this point. We'll go with the little thicker brush. A little bit of medium, and the same color tone. I'm going to stay completely with this color right here throughout the whole area. Fill in the box. Get a little bit more paint, and let's start putting in the doxing. Okay, we're going to throw a house, say, about here. So we'll put the house up in this area, and we're just going to draw a little house up here. Okay, and we put in, say we'll go up about this high, we'll put in a roof. Okay. A little bit off the edge. And we got a rooftop here. All the way out. Straight. This way. Down there. Again, you'll start seeing it fading out as you get more this way because we have that darker tone. That's good. Again, it'll give that feeling of being in the deep, heavy fog. We can put on maybe a little chimney up here. Start putting in some detail, give it a little structure. Small one over here. And maybe we'll fill in, say a taller building over here. Again, this should pretty much fade out once we start getting toward the back part. We'll put in a little bit taller building. And go all the way out to the end. Even if you don't see it, take it all the way out to the end. Like I say, when this dries, it may be a little bit darker tone than what you're laying down. And if you don't carry it all the way out to the end, you'll see it once it dries and you go, oh, I should have carried it all the way out to the end. Now it looks silly. Okay, fill that whole area in. And maybe we'll put a different kind of roof. Maybe we'll start the roof up here. There's maybe a building right next to it. We'll come out with a little awning out here. Something like that. Another chimney up here. Maybe a couple of them. And just use your imagination, whatever you want to put in. Okay, now now what we're gonna do is we're gonna make this kind of like a walkway. Fill this in, and we'll put in like pilings. There's some pilings sticking here and here, just kind of randomly sticking up. Maybe a box here, just use your imagination however you want. Really nothing, just gives a little interest. Clean that brush out, we're going to set that aside for right now. Now again, for interest and detail, we're going to throw in some rigging and some ropes sitting around the dockside. So grab your liner brush, get a little bit of paint on it. Make sure it's not too wet. You want the paint to be there, but you don't want too much on your paintbrush. Otherwise you get a glob when you lay it down the first time and it makes a mess. So we're going to take it and we're going to say, okay, the boat is tied up to these docks. We're going to throw a line down here, maybe another line over there, just so that it's tied up to the docks up there. And maybe in between the pilings, there's some more rope that's curled up here and there. Make some more lines. Don't get too carried away, but just a little bit of detail adds interest to it. And then we can put a pole over here, come down, just add some little details and just makes the painting a little bit more interesting. Maybe you can come down here with a line like that. Put like a little tower over here. Maybe a couple more poles here. And that should pretty much do the docks. Now let's get back to the boat. Okay, on the ship up here, what we're going to do is we're going to put in some lifeboats right on the edges over here, where they would normally be. And from the back shot, like here, it should be easy. We'll just make just kind of like a triangle. Just come up here, like that, just a triangle. And then the boat would be like that. And that's how it would be. And then over here, the same thing. And it would be like a lifeboat right up in that area. And just fill all that in. And we'd have the lifeboat tied down onto the boat. So we'll throw in, say, one line just swinging out that way, and then a couple lines over here. At all times again. Anything over here, you can say. Now on lifeboats, they have the davits that hold that in, and that's just a big pole that comes up like this that holds the lifeboat on. So I need to put those in here, and that's just a curved line. It'll be like that. It comes down to the side of the boat like that, and one in the background over here. So you get two. And they're just curved lines, just small, nothing much. And of course they are tied onto the boat, so you put small lines there. And then we have our lifeboats on the side of the boat. Fill this in. And we have the lifeboats on the side. Okay, again, I'm just going to put in, we'll put in like a little small poop deck up top here. The boat, again, give it a little bit more interest. Just draw it in there. Make it as big as you want. This is a boat we're making up, it's no real boat. first boat that we did up here, we painted a schooner. And this boat we're going to make into a square rigger. Now the reason they call it square rigger is because they have yard arms that go across and they have that square sail. This boat here, if it ran a sail, would just be a sail up like that. So these don't have any yard arms on it. But this one, we're going to make yard arms. It gives a lot more interest to it. So we're going to go up about a third of the way and make a line. That will be the first platform that we pull onto. Then come up here, make another small little dot up here. This is where the lines tie in, hold the mast up. Then we'll put in our first yard on. And we'll make it from here, go right across up there. Give it a little bit of an angle. We don't want them perfectly straight, so they wouldn't be perfectly straight. Okay, the next one, put it just a little bit higher, and we'll put up another one. Just like that. Okay, we're going to go up on this level up here. Do the same thing. Put one here, another one next to it, and we'll put one more up in here. These are getting smaller. As you're going up, those yards are getting smaller and smaller. The sails will be smaller and smaller when they're actually sailed up. Ship, that's this is. Let's put up one up in here. And I think that's, we'll call it, that's enough. Okay, the next is the rigging for it. Now, I'm going to go from this area right here. We're going to go down to the very edges of the boat, on both sides. So get paint on your liner brush. Get enough paint on there. Again, you don't want it thick. You want it kind of thin so it goes nice and smooth. If it's too thick, you'll get it glob when you throw it on. But if it's thinned out enough, it'll fill up that whole liner brush, and you just keep making lines, as you'll see up here. So now we just go from here to that point there. One, get another one. See how you can just keep drawing lines on here, because these liner brushes are great for this. And they're nice and thin and hold good paint. Okay, grab a little bit more, same consistency, go to the other side. Here, get about 3 or 4 or so. Now you can see it's starting to look like a ship. Okay, now we're going to go up to right underneath this one here. We're going to go from this point down to the same spot. Right there. And just a couple, not quite as many. Same thing on this side. From here, go all the way down. If you put a very light touch, you can see how thin you can get those lines. Again, the liner brushes are great for this. Okay, now we're going to go up to this point. From here, all the way down. Just one line this time. And from here, same thing, all the way down to the corner. And we're going to grab it from right up about up in here. And from here, all the way down as well. All meet in the same spot, right on the side of the boat. Same thing here. Okay. Now, the last little bit of rigging that we need to do is on the yards themselves. So, we're going to take it from not quite at the very end, but in just a little bit. We're going to give a little line like that, swooping up that way. Maybe another one over here. And then one in between, kind of like that. And we got the second one here, do the same thing with that. And move it up, more lines. Do the same thing for the next set of yard arms up here. Grab paint as you need it. Just keep moving up. And every now and then you can get a little bit bigger one, because they wouldn't be laying down completely flat. These are just lines that are just loose anyhow. Now, the next rigging that we're going to do is the yard-ons have to be tied up to something. So, right from this platform here, we go right to the end of each yard-on. And that's what holds the yard-on up. And then we go right in the middle of the same thing. Over here, same way, right up to the edge, right up to the edge of that one, and then we go right in the middle of the yard-on. Same principle for this here. We're going from this point right up to the edge of the yard-on. And then one right in the middle. Same thing there. Here. I'm just going to do one. There we go. And then we got this part right here. Okay. Now, the other part of this is a lot of these sails, when they're sailing, they're all into synchronization, so you don't have one that's tilted this way and one that's tilted that way. So we need to connect these, each one of these yards to itself as it goes down to the boat. So we're going from this point down to that one there, and this one down to that one. We got a couple masts going here. Again, from here to there, from here to there, here, to there, and here. Okay. Real light one, very thin lines here. And just to get a little interest, we can make it like these sailors were kind of sloppy sailors and they didn't tie these sails up real tight to the yard. So we're going to give a little piece of the sail here and just bring it up. And then a little bit over there. Just so it got a little sloppy and it dropped down. But it gives a little bit of interest. We can do the same thing over here. Not quite as much back here. There'll be a little neater back here. Same thing over here. Maybe we'll make this one a sloppy one. Give a little interest to this side. Okay. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to start putting the reflection on the water. The shadow of the on the water. The actual lights will do once this is dry, so we're not messing with this. Grab your next brush, the thicker, not quite not the liner brush, but the next size up. And we're going to grab the same color, and we're going to start putting the reflection on the water. Now, the one thing you need to pay attention to on this is where you started when we have, see the waves that are coming out on your canvas there? Okay. Reflections are going to hit that top part, not the back side of that. If you're looking at waves coming across, it's going to hit the reflection. That wave would catch the reflection of something over here. But when it's down this side, this part of the wave, you can't see that, so you won't get the reflection on this side. So when we start laying the reflection down, this dark part will hit these top parts and maybe a little bit more, but it won't hit the back side because it won't see it. It's rolling over. It won't hit it until it starts coming back up. Then it would catch that reflection again. So keep that in mind when you're putting down your waves here, that it'll hit that and it won't hit this, and that'll give you more of the realism rather than just going straight down, because it wouldn't be straight down, not if it's wavy. It would only be that way if this was perfectly flat. Okay, so grab a little bit of the same color as this, onto your paintbrush. A little bit of medium to make it smooth. And now we're going to copy what we have here. So we already have that little bit of a dark spot going here, so we don't need too much of that. But this is higher, therefore it'll come down lower. It's like a mirror, okay? So we're going to come down. We're not going to make it square with that because the water's going to shift a little bit. So we'll come down, and then when we get to the edge, see how I'm just, sometimes I come out a little bit less, a little bit more, just like that. That's how water would be. It shifts just a little bit. And then we'll come down right about here. Now we're going to start, see how it's starting to get ripples in here? And now we've got to start paying attention to our ripples. Okay, the first thing to do when you're doing especially something like this, what I find the easiest is go with the mask before you start putting in this, because you're really not going to see too much of this. You'll see a little bit of the reflection of this, but it's the mask that's going this way. Anything going straight up and down will show a lot more reflection than things going this way. So go with our mask, and again, we're not going to make a straight line down. We're going to wiggle it a little bit like water would do. And keep in mind where your breaks are. So we're going to come down, do a little bit here, and we'll break it up a little bit. And then we'll come over here. Now we're going to start hitting where our water line is. Tops of the water. And you just want to hit that. Again, if you don't see it, put it down anyway, because a lot of times it'll come up darker than what you see. Okay, now let's do the same thing with this. We'll come up here. We're getting the major parts first. So we come down with this, give us a guideline. We're not going to make that straight. Give a little bit of a break here and there. Just kind of like that. You can make sure you got the other edge same way. Pay attention to your water lines here. Okay, let's grab the next one over here. Which will be right in that area. Okay. Now once you start getting the waters, as the waves are coming up, again, it's going to start breaking up the silhouette. It's not going to be perfect. So you just come in, just throwing a line here and there, just like that with the breakup, just so the water would break it up like that. Because as you get further away from the object, the water just completely starts breaking up that reflection, so it doesn't look perfect anymore. You can throw in just a little bit like that, would be great. Okay, now let's get our pilings. And again, follow suit of what you've got going here. You know, just like I've got a big thing come up here, well, I've got to make the reflection of that. And you want to make sure you got a break here. So kind of follow it like a mirror, like what would actually be there. And again, you've got a piling here, and then you make a little bit of piling, just like that. And same thing here. Again, we've got a break here, we've got some pilings here, yeah, put those in. Just making a mirror reflection of what we already had down there. Same thing over here. Just mirror out whatever you have drawn in there. And remember that as you get further down, it's going to break it up. So if you have something that's going up high, don't just draw it straight down from here to there. You're going to have breaks where the ripples are at. Close up, it's okay, because close up, it pretty much follows it. It's pretty dark there. But once it gets back further up here, you're going to see it breaking up. So it looks more natural. And we do have the riggings that's going up here, and they're going to show. Now grab your liner brush, because we're just going to do little lines in here. The riggings are real small lines. And again, it's going to be a mirror image, so you want to make it look as real as possible. But again, keep in mind, it's not going to be a straight line all the way down. You're going to break it up where those water lines are broken up. It's going to hit the tops of the water. You just come up and you can wheel it a little bit. It's starting to look real. And as far as the masks go, again, they're thin lines going this way, so you don't need a lot. Just a little bit, just something like that. Again, break it up. It's not going to be a perfect representation of that. Just a little bit break it up. But you're following your water line. Always keep in mind where your tops of your waves are at. Just a little bit. That's all you need. Right. Now, if you want to, you can also just throw in a couple of seagulls just for some drama. And again, something this far distance, you're not going to see any detail. Just a couple of little, curly cues, just kind of like that. Maybe here. I'll get too carried away just a little bit. Now I want to throw a couple back here to give a little more distance. Remember, that's in the distance. It's not as close up as this, so we've got to go with this shade, not the darker shade. See, it's just like this seagull here. When you're looking at that, right away your mind is telling you, oh, it's as close as this boat is because it's the same intensity. It wouldn't be, that seagull wouldn't be back there by that boat, it would be lighter. So we're going to throw a couple of seagulls back here, go with this color, which was this one right here. Grab a little bit. Again, the seagulls aren't going to be as big because they're further back. And maybe just a couple over here. Okay, now we have to let this dry. And then we're going to start putting on some lights on the boat, and lights up here, and have those lights reflect down. And then we'll be finished with it. So far it's looking pretty good. Tomorrow will be really beautiful. Hello, back again. Today's the third day, and today is going to be a relatively short day. We're just going to put in a couple of lights, a couple on the ship here, a couple on the buildings, and then we'll have the reflections coming down. So it'll be a real short day today. The formula that I mentioned early in the program, you can use that to put these lights on. What we need to do is coat a little bit where we're going to put the lights on, smooth that out, and then put the paint on top of it. So when we brush it, it gets a real nice glow to it. And you can use that formula for that. Or you can use something else. This is liquid, and you can buy this in the stores. Practically any art supply store will have it. And the liquid is really good because it has a slower drying time. And in case you put in a light and you don't like it, we can take it right back out again, clean it off, and start all over again because the painting is dry and this liquid will come right off. It's easy. So today I'm going to be using the liquid just to show you the variety, but you can use the formula the same way as the liquid in here. So we're going to take the liquid and we're going to put a little bit down here. And we're going to take, say our half-inch brush here. And we're just going to lay some down where we're going to put the lights. So grab a little bit of this liquid. Just a little bit. You don't want to get too much on it. Just get the brush good and wet. And then we're going to say we'll put a light up here. Make a spot. Make a pretty good area. Maybe about an inch around where you're going to put the actual light. And put another one over here, about that much. Put some more, say, on this building right up in here. Maybe we'll put two of them on here, and then we'll put one up here. So you're going to cover, where we're going to put the small light, you're going to cover a circle, like the light will be about here. We're going to cover an area about that of this liquid. And all the areas where we're going to put the lights. Then take a paper towel and just lightly go over it. It's kind of like when we first started the canvas out, we took the formula and we covered the whole canvas and then we wiped it down so you just have that little bit of a film. We did the same thing with this. Just take the edge of the paper towel and just lightly go over. You don't need to rub on it or brush on it hard. Just where we put the liquid. Just smooth it out so it's not, there's no heavy saturation point anywhere. Okay. Then take your, not the liner brush, but your next size brush here. And grab, not the white, we're going to grab the next color up. This color right in here. Get a little bit on there. But just a dab of liquid, not much. You don't want it too wet because then it'll blur out too much. Just to get the brush a little damp. Something like that. Then we're going to go right where we're going to put the light bulb and just make a spot like that. Just on each one of the areas there. Then we take this brush here. This is the, it's not the bigger brush, it's the smaller brush. It's probably about an inch and a half. And it's a dry brush, pure bristle. And we're going to go back and forth, just like we were blending with this. We're going to go back and forth and smooth this out so that it blends out. Just take that, and just go back and forth. You can see how it's starting to get transparent. You're actually starting to see some of the other color come back in. Just a little bit, not too much. And the same with this, just hit it back and forth. Just to start getting a little blend going in here. Same thing with this one. Okay. Now what we do is come back in with the liner brush. Grab a little bit of liquid just to get the bristles a little damp. And grab some of the white now. Now we're going to grab straight white. I'm going to put a little dot right in the center of where we have it blurred out here. Just put it a little center. Just a little dot. You don't want to make a big one here. Okay. Then take your small smoothing brush again. Make sure it's dry. If you're not sure, rub it on the towel like that so that you get everything off of that. And just very lightly. We're not really going to blend this out like the other one. Just want to knock it down so it blends in. But just lightly go over it. just barely touching that. We don't want to get rid of that dot. Now if you look at the painting now, you can see where it's looking, you have that little glow around there, so it actually looks like it's illuminated. Just a little bit of a glow. Okay, now I need to come down with the reflections. Now the one thing to remember when you're putting down reflections is water is like a mirror. Like here is our horizon line. So it's going to be like if you threw a mirror right down at this point. What is up higher than that is going to show down lower, okay? So when we're putting this light, even though our water line starts here, the light is not going to start there. The light is going to start up higher because that's how high the ship is. So here is where we put the end of the top part of the ship, and the light starts there. So our reflection is going to start here, not at the water line. So just come down, and again, follow your water. Where the tops of your water edges are, that's where you're going to be putting the reflection. So we come down here, and make sure you're straight. Come down, we're going to be at about the top of the boat here. And we just start putting in a little bit of reflection. Breaking up a little bit. Now we've got a water here, we get a little bit there. Then we stop, because that's the back side of the wave. Come up, hit this side of the water. And this and this here. And then maybe just a little bit down there. Grab some more paint. A little bit of the liquid that we're using. Make sure we have a little bit brighter up here where it's starting to come in. Maybe not quite so there. Okay. Again, don't get too much paint on here. You just want enough paint just to cover it here, because we're going to smooth this out. And then the same thing again at the top of where the ship ends, that's where the light is, right up here. I'm going to come straight down again. Just hit a little bit here. And always follow your water line. The top of the water is here, hit that part and make a break, then hit where the next wave comes up. Which is right in this area. Maybe another one over here. And just follow that through all the way across every light that we're doing. And again, always keep in mind where your water is in your top. So again, now here, this is just, it's right about in the middle of there. So it's not at the very top, because it's not sitting up on the top, it's sitting down here. So now the light's going to start right about here. Just follow through with it. Watch your water line. Same thing over here. And again over here, same thing. It's going to be in just before the roof. We have the roof here, so it'll be in just a little bit. And once we have that in, again, grab your small smoothing brush. Now, instead of going back and forth with this, we're just going to go side to side so it follows the water line, because we've got ripples coming in, and these ripples are going this way. So we just want to go side to side smoothing this out. And again, everything's with touch. Go very lightly with it. If you're too light and it doesn't move it, you can always put a little bit more pressure. But if you go too heavy in the beginning, you blur it out and you have to start all over again. So very lightly, and we're going to follow our water, which is just this way here. So we hit both of these here, just bring those out. See how that's starting to blur out a little bit? And again, see how light I'm hitting it? I'm barely moving it. It's just moving a little bit. Now, if you want more, you can just come back and hit it again. The longer you stay there, the more you'll blur that out. Now, as we're getting down to the bottom, I usually put a little bit more pressure. Again, just a little, because the lights are going to be brighter where it's at than it is back in here. Just very lightly. I mean, it's just like barely touching it. If you don't want to hit it anymore, then stop. Don't keep going back and forth on it. Now, one other thing before we stop is you can do the same principle, say on the water here. Say you wanted to brighten this up just a little bit. Again, take your white, take a little bit of the liquid. Again, if it's too wet, rub some of it off. You just want it damp, you don't want it wet. If it's too wet, then when you start smoothing it, you lose it. You just want it damp. And again, just hit the tops of your water here, just a little bit. And then do the same thing, just go back and forth this way until it smooths out what you want. If it's too heavy in one spot and you need it to be blurred out more, just stay with it. Just keep going back and forth. That way there, your highlight is staying right on the top of the water, so it's looking like it's rippling right here. And the only thing to do at this point is to grab the liner brush, grab a color, or shade. At this point, we're only working with one color. Grab a little bit of the formula if you want, a liquid, whatever makes it smooth. Grab some paint, and we're going to sign it, and we're done. And there we have it. This is Mystic Seaport. Hope you enjoyed the lesson.